Welcome to King's Cross, otherwise known as the gateway to Sydney, where artists, writers and fellow Sydney-siders come to drink and dance, illuminated by our world-renowned neon signage. As the night turns to day, stroll down the main street, taking in the best Sydney has to offer. Who knows what the future will hold for Australia's most treasured suburb?
My name's Lockitch, and I've been driving a taxi for about, I think it's about 12 years now, somewhere around there. There's all sorts of people here, you know, from barristers down to people living on the streets, and people, generally speaking, are fairly tolerant.
Yes, I'm Barbara, and I'm an entertainer, and I have been in the Cross for 40 years, and I have worked at the Staccato Club, I have worked at the Pink Panther, I have worked at Les Bells. I've liked the Cross and I've enjoyed living here, and I've lived on and off here for 40 years. I always come back here. It's something that draws me back to the place.
My name is John mcinerny, and I'm a councillor with the City of Sydney Council.
My name is Barry Minhwick, which is a Cornish surname, and I first came to Australia in 1972, returning in 1979. Which I came to live in King's Cross, where we are here now at present in Hensley Hall. I've lived in this wonderful old 30-room place for 16 years.
I'm Jo Holder, and I run the Cross Art projects in King's Cross. King's Cross has played this role in Sydney's life as being a sort of crossroads historically, a crossroads economically, a crossroads socially.
When I first came here, I loved it because it was a place you could go and nobody judged you because it was such a mixed type of people that lived here. Everybody was battling to do their own thing.
The Cross, as always, is a microcosm of wider social pressures, and King's Cross and Woolloomooloo have always been keenly contested pieces of real estate, probably the most valuable pieces of real estate in Sydney. So since the late 1960s, they've been under enormous pressure.
I think that what really changed the place in the beginning was the railway coming through. Once the railway came through, of course they got more people here and they had to have more units. This is why we had the high rise we've got today.
We had never announced that we wanted to clean up the area. That phrase had been used by a previous Lord Mayor. It implied a sort of moralistic campaign against, you know, the evils of King's Cross.
This is a loose word, but I mean it in a very nice way. A rich element that have bought apartments here, they appear to be taking over, whereas the bohemian element is you can virtually count them on one or two fingers.
It's an interesting conundrum that as you start to improve the quality of the area and the environment, and it gets better and better, people begin to want to move into that area, and as that begins to happen, then property prices go up, and it effectively makes it almost impossible for the people who used to give the character to the area to live there because of the cost of the area. It's a real problem. I don't know the answer to it.
Well, it's social engineering by default. It's you've got people that like the area, they might like the feel of it, or the I suppose the eclectic nature of it. They then move into the area. They then have issues with noise, with the type of people that hang around outside their buildings.
We're talking about an area, say, that in the 1950s and 60s there were maybe only 5 or 7 clubs that traded, until late at the night. Just in this small couple of blocks, we've got 33 clubs that have got licenses to trade 24 hours.
Well, especially on weekends, you notice it more. There's a lot of drunk people around. It seems to be getting a little bit more violent in terms of the people you're picking up.
The other really huge change that's happened has been the rezoning of the former sex industry premises to alcohol premises. So there's been this sort of massive intensification of the alcohol industry in the area. In 1995 they brought in the Sex Industry Development Control Plan. But what that did do here is set out an area which could trade 24 hours, which was a strip along Darlinghurst Road. So the next thing, of course, the grog operators are there. The next thing, they're arguing that this area has always been used by the alcohol industry, and they're claiming that it has always been like this. So, again, it's, we're faced at every turn with a huge and very powerful PR and lobbying industry.
We tried to regulate the growth of large alcohol selling venues, but we have been unsuccessful in the sense that we were overruled by the Land and Environment Court. At least I think now that's stopped. Unfortunately, it's a bit late.
We really need to declare a moratorium until we actually get this right and work out, sort of deal with the monster that's been unleashed and actually get it under control. And to do anything other than that is simply irresponsible.
One thing that the Cross has stood for me is its diversity, and that's something that I think needs to be looked after.
I'm optimistic, and I have faith in the younger generation that vibe will always remain there.
I think King's Cross as the future should stay as a finely textured area, and if we can do that, then I think that's a really good thing for Sydney, and it's a good thing for Australia as well. Otherwise, we just risk becoming sort of drifting off and becoming a sort of bland middle class large island in the middle of the Pacific that nobody wants to go to anymore.
King's Cross is world known. And it's known for strip clubs, for shows, for prostitutes, everything, drug addicts. And I think people come here to see the difference in life, And once all this goes, I don't know what's going to happen. We've lost a unique symbol, I think, of New South Wales. That's what I believe.